There was a time when the world did not move as fast as it does today. No screens, no noise, no endless distraction. Only silence, dust, and the slow rhythm of life. And in that silence, something powerful was built. Not quickly, not easily, but wisely. In the ancient city of Babylon, where towering walls touched the sky and golden markets stretched across the desert, men gathered not just to trade goods, but to learn the laws of wealth. Not modern theories, not complicated systems, but simple truths, tested over time, passed from one generation to another. Because even then, one question remained the same. Why do some people grow richer while others struggle their entire lives? The answer was not luck. It was not talent. It was not even opportunity. It was understanding. Because wealth, even in ancient times, followed rules. Invisible rules, unspoken rules, but powerful ones. And those who understood them did not chase gold. Gold came to them. This is the wisdom found in The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clausen. But these are not just old stories. They are mirrors, reflections of human behavior that has not changed. Because time changes tools, but it does not change habits. It does not change discipline. It does not change the way people think about money. Even today, people earn, they spend, they struggle, they hope. And often they repeat the same patterns, working harder, trying more, yet seeing little change. Not because they are incapable, but because they do not know the rules. In Babylon, wealth was not taught in schools. It was learned through experience, through mistakes, through observation, and most importantly, through discipline. Because the truth they discovered was simple. Gold does not come to those who wish for it. It comes to those who understand it. There were men who earned good money, yet remained poor. There were men with small income who slowly built great wealth. This confused many because it seemed unfair, but it was not. It was precise. Because wealth does not respond to effort alone. It responds to behavior, to habits, to consistency. This is where most people misunderstand. They believe earning more will solve everything. They believe a bigger income will change their life. But Babylon taught something different. It taught that without control, more income only creates more spending. Without discipline, more money only disappears faster. And without knowledge, wealth cannot stay. This is why some people rise, and others remain where they started. Not because of chance, but because of choices repeated daily. Another powerful truth from Babylon is this: wealth is not built in one moment. It is built slowly, quietly, over time, through small actions, repeated again and again, saving a little, investing wisely, avoiding unnecessary loss. These actions may seem small, but over time they become powerful, because time multiplies everything. Good habits grow wealth, bad habits destroy it. And this is where the real difference is created, not in big decisions, but in daily behavior. Another important idea is patience. In a world that moves fast, people expect fast results. They want quick success, quick money, quick change. But Babylon teaches the opposite. Wealth grows like a tree, slowly, root by root, day by day. And those who are patient eventually stand in its shade, while those who rush often lose what they gain. Another key lesson is control, not of the world, but of yourself, your spending, your desires, your decisions. Because without control, money controls you. It comes and it goes, without direction, without purpose. But with control, money becomes a tool, a servant, something that works for you, instead of disappearing from you. Another powerful realization is this: most people do not fail because they lack money. They fail because they lack discipline. They know what to do, but they do not do it consistently. They start, they stop, they try, they quit. And this inconsistency prevents growth. Babylon taught consistency above all, because consistency creates results, not effort alone. Another important idea is learning. Wealth is not only built through action, but through understanding. Knowing what to do, knowing what to avoid, learning from others, learning from mistakes. This knowledge protects wealth and allows it to grow. Another key concept is responsibility. No one else controls your money. No one else decides your habits. No one else builds your future. It is always you, your choices, your discipline, your actions. And this realization creates power, because if you are responsible, you can change, you can improve, you can grow. Another powerful idea is simplicity. The rules of wealth are not complicated. They are simple, but not easy, because they require discipline, and discipline is rare. But those who follow simple rules consistently achieve uncommon results. This is the secret Babylon understood, and this is why their wisdom still matters today. Because nothing has changed. The world looks different, money looks different, but people are the same. They still struggle, they still hope, they still search for answers. And those answers remain the same: simple, timeless, powerful. In the next part, we begin with the first and most important law, a law so simple that most people ignore it, and yet it is the foundation of all wealth. The first law of gold: pay yourself first. In the markets of ancient Babylon, where merchants traded silk, grain, and precious metals, there was a lesson so simple that many overlooked it, and yet it was the beginning of all wealth. A truth so clear, yet so rarely followed. Before you pay anyone else, pay yourself. This was the first law, not complicated, not hidden, but powerful. Because most people live in reverse. They earn, they spend, they pay others, and whatever remains, if anything, they keep. This is the pattern of struggle, not because income is too small, but because the habit is wrong. In Babylon, wise men taught something different. They said, a part of all you earn is yours to keep. Not later, not if possible, but first, always first. Because what you keep builds your future, and what you spend disappears. This is where the real shift begins, because the moment you decide to keep a portion of your income, you change direction. You stop living only for today, and you begin building for tomorrow. Most people say they cannot save. They say their expenses are too high, their responsibilities are too heavy, their income is too limited. But Babylon revealed something surprising. Even those who earned more often saved nothing, and those who earned little sometimes built wealth. Why? Because saving is not about how much you earn, it is about what you keep, and what you keep depends on discipline, not income. Another important idea is percentage. The wise men of Babylon did not say save what is left. They said decide what to keep, 10% or more, but fixed, consistent, unchanging, because consistency creates growth. If you wait for the perfect time, you will never begin. If you save only when convenient, you will never build. But when you commit to keeping a portion of everything you earn, something powerful happens. You begin to build a foundation. Small at first, almost invisible, but growing, quietly, day by day. Another key concept is ownership. When you keep money, it becomes yours, not temporarily, but permanently. It begins to serve you, instead of leaving you. This creates a shift in thinking, from spending to building, from consuming to creating. Another powerful idea is respect for money. When you keep a portion of what you earn, you begin to value it differently. You become more aware, more intentional, more disciplined. Because what you protect, you begin to respect. And what you respect begins to grow. Another important principle is habit. Saving once means nothing. Saving occasionally creates little change. But saving consistently creates transformation. Because habits shape life. And this habit becomes the foundation of all others. Without it, nothing can be built. With it, everything becomes possible. Another key idea is control over desire. Most people spend based on feeling, on impulse, on momentary satisfaction. But these desires are endless. They grow with income, they grow with exposure, and if not controlled, they consume everything. Babylon taught restraint, not deprivation, but discipline, choosing long-term benefit over short-term pleasure. and this choice creates wealth. Another powerful concept is delayed gratification, keeping money today so it can grow tomorrow. This requires patience, it requires vision, because the reward is not immediate, but over time, it becomes powerful. Another important idea is starting small. Many people wait until they earn more, until life becomes easier, until conditions improve. But this delay creates nothing because the habit is never formed. Starting small is enough because the amount matters less than the consistency. Another key concept is commitment. This law is not optional. It is not flexible. It must be followed strictly because once broken, the pattern weakens. But when maintained, it strengthens. Another powerful idea is independence. When you begin to keep money, you reduce dependence. You build security. You build control. You create options, and options create freedom. Another important principle is identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who spends everything and begin to see yourself as someone who builds. This identity shapes behavior. Another key idea is momentum. Each time you save, the habit becomes easier. Each time you keep money, your confidence grows, and over time, this creates momentum. Another powerful concept is future awareness. You begin to think ahead, to plan, to prepare, and this changes your decisions. Another important idea is discipline over emotion. Not spending based on mood, but based on intention. This creates stability. Another key concept is clarity. Knowing why you're saving. This creates purpose. Another powerful idea is growth. What you keep becomes the seed of wealth, and seeds grow, given time, given consistency. Another important principle is simplicity. This law is simple but powerful, because simple actions, repeated daily, create extraordinary results. Finally, this law reveals a powerful truth. Wealth does not begin with earning more, it begins with keeping more. And those who learn to keep a part of what they earn take the first step toward financial independence. In the next part, we will explore the second law, controlling your expenses. Because keeping money is not enough if you do not control where the rest goes. The second law of gold, control your expenses. In the great city of Babylon, many men earned well. They worked hard, they traded wisely, they brought income into their homes, and yet they remained poor. This puzzled many, because from the outside it seemed they were doing everything right. They were earning, they were working, they were trying, but their wealth never grew. And the reason was simple. They did not control their expenses. They believed that if they earned more, their problems would disappear. But Babylon revealed a deeper truth. Expenses always rise to meet income, no matter how much you earn. Without control, it will never be enough. This is where most people lose, not at earning, but at spending. Because spending feels natural, easy, immediate, while control requires discipline, awareness, and intention. Another important idea is the difference between needs and desires. Most people confuse the two. They believe everything they want is necessary. They justify spending, they explain it, they defend it. But in reality, many expenses are not needs. They are desires, temporary wants, emotional decisions. And desires are endless. They do not stop. They do not limit themselves. If left unchecked, they will consume everything you earn. Babylon taught something different. It taught awareness, knowing where your money goes, understanding your spending, seeing clearly what is necessary and what is not, because clarity creates control. Another key concept is planning. Expenses should not be random. They should be intentional, decided before spending happens. This creates structure. Without a plan, money disappears. With a plan, money is directed. Another powerful idea is discipline. Controlling expenses is not about restriction. It is about choice. Choosing what truly matters. Choosing what adds value. choosing what supports your future, and letting go of what does not. Another important principle is prioritization. Not everything deserves your money. Not everything deserves your attention. Learning to prioritize creates freedom because it reduces waste and increases focus. Another key idea is awareness of habits. Spending is often automatic, repeated patterns, daily behaviors. Without awareness, these habits continue. But when you observe them, you gain control. Another powerful concept is emotional spending. Many people spend based on feeling, stress, boredom, excitement. These emotions drive decisions, but emotional spending creates instability. Learning to separate emotion from money creates strength. Another important idea is delayed decision-making. Not buying immediately, not reacting instantly, giving time, thinking, evaluating. This reduces unnecessary spending. Another key concept is simplicity. A simple life is easier to control. Fewer distractions, fewer unnecessary expenses, more clarity, more peace. Another powerful idea is living below your means. Not at your limit, not at your maximum, but below. This creates space, space for saving, space for growth, space for opportunity. Another important principle is consistency. Controlling expenses once does not change anything. It must be practiced daily, repeated consistently until it becomes habit. Another key idea is long-term thinking. Every expense has a future impact. Money spent today cannot grow tomorrow. Understanding this changes decisions. Another powerful concept is value awareness. Spending on what truly matters, not everything that is available. This creates satisfaction without waste. Another important idea is accountability. Being responsible for your spending, not ignoring it, not avoiding it, but facing it honestly. Another key concept is removing unnecessary pressure. Trying to match others, trying to impress, trying to appear successful. These pressures create unnecessary spending. Letting go creates freedom. Another powerful idea is financial clarity. Knowing your income, knowing your expenses. This creates control. Another important principle is balance. Spending wisely, saving consistently. This creates stability. Another key idea is discipline over desire. Desire is temporary. Discipline creates long-term results. Another powerful concept is awareness of consequences. Every decision has an outcome. Understanding this improves choices. Another important idea is intentional living. Spending with purpose, not reacting blindly. Another key concept is patience. Not needing everything immediately. Waiting creates better decisions. Another powerful idea is self-control. Choosing what is necessary, avoiding what is not. This creates strength. Another important principle is focus. Focusing on what matters, ignoring distractions. Another key idea is growth. Controlled expenses create opportunity. Opportunity creates progress. Another powerful concept is transformation. Changing spending habits changes financial life. Finally, this law reveals a powerful truth. It is not how much you earn, but how much you keep and control that determines your future. Because money without control disappears, but money with discipline grows. In the next part, we will explore the third law, how to make your gold multiply. Because saving alone is not enough, it must grow. The third law of gold. Make your gold multiply. In Babylon, there were men who saved. They followed the first law. They kept a portion of what they earned. They controlled their expenses. They avoided waste. And yet, some of them still remained average. Their wealth grew, but slowly, too slowly, because they missed the next truth. Gold must not only be saved, it must be made to work. This is where the real difference begins. Because money that sits idle remains the same. But money that is used wisely begins to grow. And once it starts growing, it no longer depends only on your effort. It begins to create more of itself. This was the secret that changed everything in Babylon. The moment a man understood that his gold could earn more gold, he stepped into a different level of wealth, not because he worked harder, but because his money began to work for him. This is the power of multiplication, and it is the turning point in every financial journey. Another important idea is that money is like a servant. If you keep it idle, it does nothing. But if you give it purpose, it begins to serve you. It begins to produce. It begins to grow. And over time, that growth becomes powerful, because growth builds on itself. This is what many people misunderstand. They save money, but they do not use it. They protect it, but they do not grow it. And without growth, wealth remains limited. Another key concept is investment. Not in a complicated way, but in a wise way. Using your money in places where it can return more, slowly, consistently, safely. This is how gold multiplies. Another powerful idea is compounding. Growth does not happen in one moment. It builds over time. Small returns, repeated again and again, create larger results. And those results create even more growth. This is how wealth expands. Not through sudden gain, but through consistent increase. Another important principle is patience. Many people want quick returns, fast results, immediate growth. But Babylon teaches the opposite. Slow growth is strong growth, because it is stable, because it is reliable, because it lasts. Those who chase fast gains often lose everything, but those who grow steadily build lasting wealth. Another key idea is learning before investing. Not every opportunity is good. Not every offer is wise. Understanding where to place your money is essential, because wrong decisions destroy wealth, while wise decisions grow it. Another powerful concept is risk awareness. Every investment carries risk, but risk can be managed through knowledge, through caution, through careful decision-making. Blind risk leads to loss. Informed risk leads to growth. Another important idea is reinvestment. When your money grows, do not consume it immediately. Use it again. Allow it to grow further. This creates acceleration. Growth begins to multiply faster. Another key concept is discipline. It is easy to spend profits, to enjoy gains, but discipline keeps growth moving. It keeps wealth expanding. Another powerful idea is consistency. Investing once is not enough. Growth must be continuous, repeated, maintained. Another important principle is long-term vision. Wealth is not built in days. It is built over years. Understanding this creates patience. Another key idea is avoiding emotional decisions. Fear, greed, excitement. These emotions lead to poor choices. Calm thinking creates better outcomes. Another powerful concept is learning from others. Those who have succeeded understand the process. Learning from them reduces mistakes. Another important idea is protecting your capital. Before growing money, protect it. Avoid unnecessary loss, because loss slows progress. Another key concept is clarity of purpose. Why are you investing? What is your goal? This creates direction. Another powerful idea is balance. Not risking everything, not holding everything, but managing wisely. Another important principle is awareness. Understanding where your money is, how it is working. This creates control. Another key idea is gradual growth. Not rushing, not forcing, allowing time to work. Another powerful concept is independence. When your money grows, you rely less on effort alone. This creates freedom. Another important idea is opportunity recognition. Seeing where value exists. This improves decisions. Another key concept is discipline over excitement. Not chasing trends, not following emotion, but following logic. Another powerful idea is persistence, continuing even when growth feels slow, because slow growth becomes powerful over time. Another important principle is responsibility. Your money requires attention, care, decision. Another key idea is transformation. When money begins to work for you, your life begins to change. Finally, this law reveals a powerful truth. Saving creates the foundation, but growth creates wealth. Because money that works builds freedom. And those who learn to make their gold multiply move from effort to expansion. In the next part, we will explore the fourth law, how to protect your wealth. Because what you build must be protected, or it will be lost. The fourth law of gold: protect your wealth from loss. In Babylon, many men learned how to earn. Some learned how to save. A few even learned how to grow their gold. But there was a painful truth that separated those who kept wealth from those who lost it. Gold is hard to earn, but it is very easy to lose. And many who worked for years lost everything in a single mistake. Not because they were careless people, but because they trusted without understanding. They acted without knowledge. They followed promises instead of wisdom. This is why the wise men of Babylon taught a rule that protected everything. Guard your treasure from loss, because what you build must be protected, or it will disappear. Another important idea is that opportunity can be dangerous. Not every opportunity is real. Not every offer is wise. Some look attractive. Some promise fast returns. Some feel exciting. But behind many of them, there is risk, and often hidden loss. This is where most people fall. They chase what sounds good instead of understanding what is safe. Babylon taught something different. Before you invest, ask, understand, learn. Because money placed without knowledge is money placed in danger. Another key concept is seeking advice from those who know. Not from everyone, not from the crowd, but from those who have experience, those who understand the path. Because advice from the inexperienced leads to mistakes, and mistakes cost money. Another powerful idea is caution over excitement. Excitement makes decisions fast, but fast decisions often ignore risk. Caution slows you down. It makes you think. It makes you evaluate, and this protects your wealth. Another important principle is understanding before action. Never invest in something you do not understand. No matter how attractive it looks, no matter how convincing it sounds, because lack of understanding creates vulnerability. Another key idea is avoiding unrealistic promises. If something promises quick and large returns, it often hides large risk. Real growth is steady, not sudden. Babylon understood this deeply, because those who chased fast gain often lost everything. Another powerful concept is protecting your foundation. Your savings, your investments. These are your base, and once lost, you must start again. Protection ensures continuity. Another important idea is learning from others' mistakes. You do not need to experience every loss yourself. Observing others, understanding their errors, this prevents repetition. Another key concept is diversification. Not placing everything in one place, spreading risk. This creates stability. Another powerful idea is patience over greed. Greed pushes you toward risk. It ignores warning signs. Patience keeps you grounded. It keeps you safe. Another important principle is awareness. Always knowing where your money is, how it is used, what risks exist. This creates control. Another key idea is discipline in decision-making. Not acting on impulse, not following trends, but making informed choices. Another powerful concept is trust with verification. Trusting advice, but confirming it, understanding it. This reduces risk. Another important idea is avoiding pressure. If something demands immediate action, be cautious, because real opportunities allow time. Pressure often hides risk. Another key concept is long-term thinking. Protection is not about today, it is about the future, preserving what you have built. Another powerful idea is responsibility. Your wealth is your responsibility, not someone else's. You must protect it. Another important principle is clarity. Knowing what you are doing, why you are doing it. This creates confidence. Another key idea is awareness of risk. Every decision carries risk. Understanding it reduces loss. Another powerful concept is learning continuously. The more you know, the better you protect. Another important idea is avoiding emotional investment. Fear and excitement lead to mistakes. Calm thinking creates safety. Another key concept is stability over speed. Slow and safe growth lasts. Fast and risky growth disappears. Another powerful idea is consistency. Protecting wealth is not a one-time action. It is ongoing, repeated, maintained. Another important principle is humility. Accepting that you do not know everything. Being willing to learn. This prevents mistakes. Another key idea is focus. Staying aligned with your goals, avoiding distractions. Another powerful concept is resilience. Even with care, losses may happen. Learning from them prevents future loss. Another important idea is transformation. Protection allows growth to continue. Without it, growth stops. Finally, this law reveals a powerful truth. It is not enough to earn. It is not enough to grow. You must protect what you build. Because wealth that is not protected will not last. In the next part, we will explore the fifth law, how to make your home a blessing. Because true wealth is not only about money, but how you live. The fifth law of gold, make your home a blessing. In the ancient city of Babylon, men did not measure wealth only by the weight of gold in their hands. They measured it by the strength of their lives, by the stability they created, by the peace they returned to each evening when the noise of the markets faded and the desert winds grew quiet. Because even a man with great riches, if restless in his own dwelling, lived with hidden poverty. And even a man with modest means, if grounded and secure, carried a quiet wealth that could not be taken from him. This is why the wise teachers of Babylon spoke of a law that many did not expect. A law not about earning more, not about saving harder, not about chasing gold, but about building a life that could hold that gold. Make your home a blessing, not a burden, not a source of stress, but a place of strength. Because your home is not simply where you live, it is where your life is shaped, where your thoughts settle, where your energy is restored, where your discipline is either strengthened or slowly broken. Most people do not think about this deeply. They move through life reacting, choosing where to live based on pressure, based on appearance, based on what others are doing. But Babylon taught something different. They taught intention. They taught that a man must choose his foundation carefully, because everything built on a weak foundation will eventually crack. Another important idea is ownership. When you build something that is yours, something shifts inside you. Not in a loud way, not in a dramatic way, but quietly. You begin to think long-term. You begin to act with care. You begin to feel responsible. Because ownership creates connection, and connection creates discipline. A man who owns nothing often treats life temporarily, but a man who builds something of his own begins to live with purpose. He begins to protect, to improve, to plan. And these behaviors extend beyond the home. They influence every area of life. Another key concept is stability. A home should bring stability, not pressure, because when your living situation is uncertain, your thinking becomes uncertain. When your foundation is unstable, your decisions become weaker. You hesitate, you worry, you react instead of plan. But when your home is stable, something powerful happens. Your mind becomes calm. Your thinking becomes clear. Your actions become stronger. Because stability creates confidence, and confidence creates progress. Another powerful idea is emotional environment. Your surroundings affect you more than you realize. The space you wake up in, the place you return to after a long day, the environment you sit in when you think, plan, and rest. All of it shapes your state of mind. If your home is filled with noise, pressure, and disorder, your mind begins to mirror that. If your home is calm, simple, and intentional, your mind begins to reflect that as well. This is not coincidence. This is influence, and influence shapes behavior. Another important principle is balance. A home should not consume everything you earn. It should not create constant financial pressure. It should not force you into stress. Because if your home becomes a burden, it stops serving you and begins controlling you. Babylon warned against this. They taught that comfort should not come at the cost of freedom, that stability should not become stress, that a wise man builds within his means, not beyond them. Because true wealth is not shown in appearance, it is felt in peace. Another key idea is long-term thinking. Many people make decisions based on the present, what feels good now, what looks impressive now. But Babylon focused on what lasts. They understood that a home is not a short-term decision. It is a long-term foundation, something that must support you for years. And this requires patience, planning, and discipline. Another powerful concept is independence. When your home is secure, you rely less on uncertainty. You are not constantly reacting to change. You are not forced into decisions. You begin to move with control. And that control creates freedom, because independence is not only about money, it is about stability. It is about having a place where you are not easily shaken. Another important idea is responsibility. A home requires care, maintenance, attention. And this responsibility builds discipline. It teaches consistency. It teaches awareness. It teaches long-term thinking. And these qualities extend into every part of life. Another key concept is simplicity. A powerful home is not one filled with excess. It is one filled with intention. What you need, what supports you, what brings peace. Simplicity removes distraction. It removes pressure. It creates clarity, and clarity allows growth. Another powerful idea is connection. A home is where relationships are built, where trust is formed, where life is shared. And these connections are forms of wealth that go beyond money. Because at the end of life, it is not possessions that matter. It is people. It is memories. It is the life you built within your walls. Another important principle is avoiding comparison. Many people make decisions based on others, trying to match lifestyles, trying to impress, trying to appear successful. But this leads to unnecessary pressure and often unnecessary loss. Babylon taught independence of thought. Build what suits your life, not what satisfies others. Because real wealth is not visible to everyone. It is experienced internally. Another key idea is peace of mind. When your home supports you, your mind rests. When your mind rests, your thinking improves. And when your thinking improves, your life improves. This connection is often ignored, but it is powerful, because everything begins in the mind. Another powerful concept is protection. A home protects you from instability, from constant change, from external pressure. And this protection allows you to grow, because growth requires stability. Another important idea is patience. Building a strong foundation takes time. It cannot be rushed. It cannot be forced. But once built, it supports everything. And lasting things are always built slowly. Another key concept is identity. Your home reflects your discipline, your choices, your values. And over time, it shapes how you see yourself. A stable home creates a stable identity, and a stable identity creates strong action. Another powerful idea is gratitude, appreciating what you have, not constantly seeking more. This creates satisfaction, and satisfaction creates peace. Another important principle is foundation for growth. When your home is strong, everything else becomes easier. You can focus, you can plan, you can build, because you are not distracted by instability. Finally, this law reveals a powerful truth. Wealth is not only what you earn, it is what supports your life. And a home that gives you stability, peace, and strength is one of the greatest forms of wealth you can ever build. Because from that foundation, everything else becomes possible. In the next part, we will explore the sixth law, how to secure your future income. Because true wealth is not only about today, but about ensuring that tomorrow is protected. The sixth law of gold, secure your future income. In Babylon, the wise did not only think about today, they did not only focus on what they could earn now or what they could enjoy in the moment. They looked further, beyond the present, beyond the next trade, beyond the next gain. They looked toward a time when their strength would be less, when their hands would no longer work as they once did, when opportunity would not come as easily. And they asked a question that many ignore until it is too late. What will sustain me when I can no longer sustain myself? This is where true wisdom begins, because wealth is not only about accumulation, it is about continuity, not only about gaining, but about lasting. And this is why the wise men of Babylon taught a law that many overlook. Secure your future income. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. Because the future is not something that arrives suddenly. It is something that is built quietly, through the choices you make today. Another important idea is time. Time changes everything. Strength fades, energy shifts, opportunities evolve, and the man who depends only on present effort will one day face limitation. But the man who prepares, who builds beyond his current ability, creates stability that continues even when he slows down. Another key concept is foresight, seeing what others ignore, understanding that life moves forward, and that preparation creates security. Many people live only in the present. They earn, they spend, they repeat, without thinking ahead. But Babylon taught that wisdom is not only in action, but in anticipation. Another powerful idea is building systems, not just income. Most people rely on effort. They trade time for money. They work, they earn. And when they stop working, the income stops. But those who understand wealth build differently. They create sources that continue, income that does not depend only on their daily effort. This is the difference between working for money and having money work for you. Another important principle is consistency. Future security is not built in one decision. It is built through repeated action, saving regularly, investing wisely, planning carefully. Small steps, repeated over time, create powerful results. Another key idea is protection against uncertainty. Life is unpredictable. Circumstances change. Unexpected events happen. And without preparation, these moments create struggle. But with preparation, they become manageable. This is why security matters, not because you expect difficulty, but because you prepare for it. Another powerful concept is independence. When your future income is secured, you rely less on others, less on chance, less on luck. You create control, and control creates confidence. Another important idea is responsibility. No one else will secure your future. No one else will build your safety. It is always your responsibility, your choices, your discipline, your planning. And this responsibility is not a burden, it is power. Because it means you can act, you can prepare, you can change your direction. Another key concept is long-term thinking. Not focusing only on immediate reward, but on lasting stability. This changes decisions. It changes priorities. It creates discipline. Another powerful idea is avoiding delay. Many people say they will prepare later, when they earn more, when life becomes easier, when they feel ready. But later often becomes never. Because habits do not change without action. Starting now, even small, creates momentum. Another important principle is growth of future income. Not just saving, but building. Creating streams that expand over time. Investments, assets, opportunities that grow beyond your effort. This is how wealth becomes sustainable. Another key idea is patience. Future security takes time. It is not instant, but it is powerful. Because what grows slowly lasts longer. Another powerful concept is discipline over comfort. Choosing to prepare instead of consuming everything now. Choosing long-term stability over short-term satisfaction. Another important idea is clarity. Knowing what you are building toward. Understanding your future needs. This creates direction. Another key concept is adaptability. Life changes, plans may shift, but preparation allows flexibility. Without it, change creates stress. With it, change becomes manageable. Another powerful idea is peace of mind. Knowing that your future is not uncertain. That you have prepared. That you have built something that will support you. This peace is powerful because it allows you to live fully in the present without fear of what comes next. Another important principle is protecting your future self, the person you will become, the life you will live. Every decision today affects that future, and protecting it is one of the greatest responsibilities you have. Another key idea is consistency in contribution. Regular effort toward future security. Not occasional, not temporary, but continuous. Another powerful concept is identity. Seeing yourself as someone who prepares, who plans, who builds. This identity shapes behavior. Another important idea is awareness of time passing. Time does not wait, it moves forward. And each day is an opportunity, used or wasted. Another key concept is transformation. When you begin to think about the future, your present decisions change, your priorities shift, your discipline increases, and your life begins to move in a new direction. Another powerful idea is stability creates freedom. When your future is secure, you make decisions from strength, not fear, from choice, not pressure. Finally, this law reveals a powerful truth. Wealth is not only what you have today, it is what continues when you are no longer working for it. Because true wealth protects you, supports you, and remains with you even as time moves forward. In the final part, we will bring all these laws together and reveal the ultimate truth about wealth, not as something you chase, but as something you become. The final lesson of gold: wealth comes to the disciplined. In Babylon, many men heard the laws. They listened, they understood, they agreed. But only a few became wealthy. Not because the knowledge was hidden, not because the rules were complex, but because knowledge alone does not change a man. Discipline does. This was the final truth, the difference between those who knew and those who became. Because it is easy to hear wisdom, it is easy to agree with it. It is easy to say, "This makes sense," but it is difficult to live it, daily, consistently, without excuse, without delay. This is where most people fall. They learn, but they do not apply. They understand, but they do not act. They begin, but they do not continue. And because of this, their life does not change. Babylon understood something powerful. Wealth is not created by what you know. It is created by what you do repeatedly. Because repetition builds habit, habit builds character, and character builds destiny. Another important idea is that discipline is quiet. It is not dramatic. It is not exciting. It does not bring immediate reward. It is simple, often boring, sometimes uncomfortable, but it is powerful. Because discipline creates consistency, and consistency creates results. This is why some men slowly became wealthy, while others remained the same, not because they worked harder, but because they followed the laws consistently, every day, no matter what. Another key concept is resistance. At the beginning, discipline feels difficult. Saving feels restrictive. Controlling expenses feels uncomfortable. Avoiding unnecessary spending feels limiting. But this discomfort is temporary, because with repetition, it becomes normal. And what becomes normal becomes easy. This is how transformation happens, not suddenly, but gradually, through repeated action. Another powerful idea is that discipline protects you from yourself, from impulse, from emotion, from short-term thinking. Because most mistakes are not made from lack of knowledge, they are made from lack of control, spending too quickly, trusting too easily, acting too emotionally. Discipline prevents these mistakes. It creates pause, it creates awareness, it creates better decisions. Another important principle is identity. At first, you practice discipline, but over time, you become disciplined. It becomes part of who you are. You no longer struggle to choose wisely. You naturally choose wisely, because your identity has changed. Another key idea is consistency over perfection. You do not need to be perfect. You need to be consistent. Missing once does not matter. Stopping completely does, because progress comes from repetition, not perfection. Another powerful concept is delayed reward. Discipline does not give immediate results. It works quietly, in the background. And this is why many people stop, because they do not see change. But those who continue eventually reach a point where everything shifts and the results appear strong, clear, undeniable. Another important idea is self-respect. Every time you follow discipline, you build trust in yourself. You prove to yourself that you can act with control, and this confidence spreads into every area of life. Another key concept is removing excuses. Excuses delay action. They justify inaction, but discipline removes them. It focuses on what must be done, not what is convenient. Another powerful idea is awareness of small actions. Small decisions matter. Daily choices matter because they accumulate, and over time, they create results. Another important principle is long-term thinking. Discipline is always connected to the future. It sacrifices now to gain later, and this is what creates wealth. Another key idea is emotional control. Not allowing feelings to dictate financial decisions. Staying calm, staying focused. This creates stability. Another powerful concept is simplicity. Discipline follows simple rules. Save, control, invest, protect, repeat. It is not complicated, but it requires consistency. Another important idea is persistence. Continuing even when it feels slow, even when it feels repetitive, because repetition is what creates change. Another key concept is personal responsibility. No one else will build your wealth. No one else will apply these laws for you. It is always you, your choices, your discipline, your actions. Another powerful idea is transformation through habit. What you repeat daily becomes who you are, and who you are determines your future. Another important principle is clarity. Knowing what you are doing and why you are doing it. This strengthens discipline. Another key idea is momentum. Once discipline becomes habit, everything becomes easier. Progress accelerates. Another powerful concept is inevitability. If you follow the laws consistently, results will come. Not maybe, not possibly, but inevitably. Because discipline always produces outcome. Finally, this part reveals a powerful truth. Wealth is not reserved for the lucky. It is not limited to the gifted. It belongs to the disciplined. Those who act, those who continue, those who do not stop. Because in the end, it is not what you know that changes your life. It is what you repeat. And discipline is what controls that repetition. The final truth of gold. What you build builds you. In Babylon, the laws of wealth were never hidden. They were spoken openly, shared in markets, taught through stories, passed from one generation to another. And yet, most people remained unchanged, not because they did not hear, but because they did not become. This is the final truth. Wealth is not only something you build, it is something that builds you. Because every action you repeat changes who you are. Every coin you choose to save strengthens your discipline. Every expense you control sharpens your awareness. Every decision you make with intention builds your character. And over time, something powerful happens. You are no longer trying to follow the laws. You are living them. They become natural, effortless, part of your identity. And this is where everything changes. Because once it becomes who you are, it no longer requires struggle. It becomes automatic. Another important idea is that wealth is not an event. It is not a moment. It is not a sudden breakthrough. It is a process, a slow, steady construction, built through daily actions, through repeated discipline, through consistent decisions. And this is why most people miss it, because they are waiting for something big, something fast, something dramatic. But Babylon teaches something different. Real wealth is quiet. It grows slowly, without noise, without attention, until one day it becomes undeniable. Another key concept is alignment. When your actions match your goals, when your habits match your intentions, when your behavior reflects your vision, this creates flow. And when there is flow, progress accelerates. But when there is misalignment, everything feels difficult. This is why consistency matters, because consistency creates alignment. Another powerful idea is self-mastery. At the beginning, you try to control your money, but over time you realize something deeper. You are learning to control yourself, your impulses, your emotions, your decisions. And this is the real power. Because once you control yourself, everything else becomes easier. Another important principle is that money reveals character. It does not change you. It exposes you. If you lack discipline, money disappears. If you lack control, money creates problems. But if you have discipline, if you have awareness, money becomes a tool, a powerful one. Another key idea is responsibility. At this stage, you cannot blame circumstances. You cannot blame income. You cannot blame others. Because now you understand the laws. And understanding brings responsibility, but it also brings power. Because if your actions created your situation, your actions can change it. Another powerful concept is freedom. Not only financial freedom, but mental freedom. The freedom to make decisions without fear. The freedom to live without constant pressure. The freedom to choose your direction. And this freedom is built slowly, through discipline, through consistency, through applying the laws daily. Another important idea is that wealth is not only about money, it is about how you live, how you think, how you act. Because a man can have money and still feel unstable, but a disciplined man, even with little, begins to build something strong, and that strength grows. Another key concept is legacy. What you build does not end with you. Your habits, your discipline, your thinking, these are passed on. Through example, through influence, through the life you live. And this is a form of wealth greater than gold. Another powerful idea is awareness of time. Time is always moving. Every day is a chance to build or to delay. And delay has a cost. Because the longer you wait, the longer growth is postponed. But the moment you begin, everything starts to change. Another important principle is starting where you are. Not waiting, not preparing endlessly, but beginning with what you have. Because action creates progress, and progress creates momentum. Another key idea is simplicity. The laws are not complex. They are clear. Save, control, grow, protect, build, secure, repeat. This simplicity is what makes them powerful, because simple actions, repeated consistently, create extraordinary results. Another powerful concept is inevitability. If you follow these laws, not occasionally, but consistently, your results will change. Not instantly, but certainly, because these laws are not based on luck. They are based on behavior, and behavior always creates outcome. Another important idea is transformation. You start by trying to build wealth, but along the way, you build discipline, you build awareness, you build control. And these things change your life, not just your finances, but everything. Another key concept is belief through action. You do not need to believe at the beginning. You need to act, because action creates belief, and belief strengthens action. Another powerful idea is persistence, continuing when it feels repetitive, continuing when it feels slow, because repetition is the path, and those who stay on the path arrive. Another important principle is self-trust. Each time you follow through, you build trust in yourself, and this trust becomes confidence. Another key idea is direction, knowing where you are going and aligning your actions with that direction. This creates clarity. Another powerful concept is growth over time. What feels small today becomes powerful tomorrow, because time multiplies everything. Finally, this final part reveals the ultimate truth. Wealth is not something you chase, it is something you become. Through discipline, through consistency, through repeated action. And once you become that person, wealth is no longer difficult. It becomes natural, because it is no longer something you try to achieve, it is something you live. This is the wisdom of Babylon. Simple, timeless, unchanging. And now it is yours to use. Not someday, not later, but now. Because everything you build from this moment forward will be shaped by what you choose to do next.